Hi, I'm Steve from the Stone Crafting Workshop. Welcome. In a previous video I showed how to convert a Ferrex mini grinder to a marble crafting workstation, and I said I was going to work on getting a water feed, something that would supply water to the discs rather than creating a lot of dust in the air in the workshop. And this is it. I've actually done it. I'm really pleased. It works really well. And I'll show you now how I put it together and how it works and what have you. And at the end of the video, I'll show you me polishing a piece of stone. This is actually a little bit of stone bought back by someone who shall remain nameless, my wife, from Mount Vesuvius. And I'll show you how I polished the face on it. So join me in the workshop. Before we go any further, let's just quickly show you a side view. There's a tray for collecting the water. There's a kind of, I don't know what you call that, a water splash guard mounted on the actual grinder itself. Otherwise, the grinder behind it is pretty well bog standard. So the first thing I'm going to demonstrate is its ability to polish marble, or at least grind a piece of marble or stone. And before I do that, I'm just going to show you the thing running. I'm just going to turn on the pump. And as you can see, I've arranged it so that I've got quite a small needle jet of water. Using this flexible feed, I can just aim it straight onto the disc, and in fact I can use less water than that if I want to, simply by turning it down and moving it closer. So you can very precisely position the end of this nozzle. And there it is, it's grinding that off easily. There's not a huge amount of spray. There's very little spray, in fact. I've got some over my hand and wrist, but that's it. And because it's such a tiny jet of water, I can use it for several minutes, you know, perhaps 5 or 10 minutes before I get to a point where I've got to empty this tray out. It's also useful for other things. For example, if I was grinding a pebble using my dremel, bear in mind this is a 12-volt dremel, so through a transformer, so there's not much risk of electrocuting myself. You would simply, I would use something to support my wrist like that. Position that on the bit of work you're doing. And I think I would just let it dribble on there. Yeah, that works really well. And you can see that would work very well. This was a piece of stone I started to carve as a sort of grotesque face, and I was doing it dry, and it's just so hard. But I may come back to that now I've got a water feed and have another go at it. It was just a play piece, you know. You can also use it if you're drilling marble or stone or pebbles. Drill this trusty piece of marble. Same thing. Doing this cack-handy because I want you to be able to see it. Oh, how easy was that? I'm also pretty certain, turn the pump off, I'm also pretty certain that I could do much bigger things. If I was carving a boulder, I don't know if any of you have seen my video on carving rocks, I'm going to do a lot more of that. I would buy a second tray and just have the rock in the tray, and because this is separate from the grinder and the tray, it's a freestanding piece of kit actually. And I would just move it around, and obviously if I had a boulder, I don't know, there's a, it could be quite a great big thing. And you could just aim that and do exactly the same thing as I did with that pebble. but on a much bigger scale, and that appeals to me. Reducing the dust seems like a great idea. So all in all, I think this has worked out quite well so far. I've got a few mods to make on it, modifications. I'm going to sand down the edges of this. I only did this and it's still very rough, and I'm going to coat it with, wrap it with duct tape just to reinforce it. It's an old sweet tin or box. You probably all noticed that. Probably thought, aha, he has sweet boxes in his workshop. I shan't deny it. So you can easily change the discs, and then when you've done that, you can move around the side, and you can use both of the felt wheel and the cloth wheel are accessible for just finishing off the polishing. And I'll show you now. I'm going to take it apart and show you how it went together. Right, first things first, the tray. How to remove the tray. Let's put that out of the way. You can just lift this up and slide it out from underneath the water cover, but if you do that and there's more than sort of half an inch of water in the bottom of it, it spills the water. I find it's just as quick. I've been doing this now the last few times I've used it. Just get a sponge and sponge it out. It takes a few seconds, and if I had a bigger sponge, I'll get a car sponge. It would be even quicker still. It just lifts off and pulls out from underneath. On the bottom of it, there's a couple of wooden runners I've screwed to it. I screwed and glued it so they didn't leak. I used Gorilla Glue, and that's simply to stop the tray sliding backwards and forwards. And on the end of this, there's another wooden batten just to do the same thing, to stop it moving. So that's the tray. The thing just does like that, and then this cover is held onto the machine using the 3 bolts used to fix the metal cover that originally came with it. This cover here that originally came off of the end, and these are the same bolts. Save me searching for odd size bolts. Locating these 3 holes was the trickiest bit of the whole operation, actually. And you know, I've made several goes at it, and you'll note the 3 right holes I've drawn circles around them. In the end, what I did was drill a hole in this box, in the sweet box, draw a pencil line for the bottom of the box, and then draw a line on that. You can still see it, noting again the bottom of that, and then I simply put that on there and use that as a guide for the 3 drill holes, and in the end it worked out fine. As I say, I'm going to use duct tape all the way around this and reinforce it, because it's actually slightly brittle plastic, but it works really well, and I can't offhand think of a better way of doing this. So let's have a look at our water system. It's freestanding, it's independent of the grinder itself, which is a nice feature, I think. The water is just held in any container. You can use any container. I like the idea of using something with a small top, because then you're less likely to run the risk of, plugs and what have you dropping in it. If you're going to use just a bucket, put a top on it and drill a hole in the top for that reason. Inside the water container is the pump, and the pump is a 12-volt submersible Caravan pump. It's made for caravans normally. I got this off of eBay. It cost me about £6, and it works pretty well. Now you could run this off of a battery, a car battery or a motorbike battery, but I've actually run mine into a transformer which is plugged into the mains, and I just switch it on and off. From the pump I've got a small bore water pipe that runs up to this contraption, and the tap is just, you can use any sort of old gas tap. That's an old tap I had lying around. And then we come to the interesting bit, which is this flexible bead. another of my eBay acquisitions. It's a brilliant bit of kit, and as you can see, you can position this, and if I was working on a big boulder here, I could just position that over the bit I was working on if I was using my Dremel, and have a constant drip 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 of water, which is something I haven't been able to do. I haven't successfully managed to do anything like that. I modified this. If you look at the end, it looks like a bit of a pencil sticking out. It's actually a bit of a paintbrush, an old paintbrush. There we are. I cut the end off of it because it's tapered. It forces in the end, and then I drilled a hole in it, a very small hole, just using a tiny, I think it's about a 1.5 mil, using my Dremel. I simply drilled a hole in it. But that all works out really well. I found in practice that this, when I first started using it, was leaking from these joints. But in actual fact, once you manipulate them a bit, they seal up. And I think there's no problem with that now. So that's it, my marble crafting workstation. And it does work really well. I'll be able to make small stone, marble items and pebbles and carve out and polish without creating any dust, and that's the key about this, is to reduce the amount of dust in the atmosphere when I'm working, and it works really well. I'm sure I'm going to modify this as I go along and redo bits, but the basic process works, and I hope it encourages you. I hope you think you can do something like this, and because this would work in a little corner of a workshop or a shed, or without making a huge amount of mess. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see the things I'm going to make on this, then subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be doing a lot of this for the next few years. It's something I just love every minute of. So thank you for watching. Lovely. It's actually got a beautiful polish on it.